Hi you guys, I hope you're all doing well and keeping safe. I hope you're having a beautiful day. I hope you're having a beautiful week, and I'm quickly going to talk about vitamin D. I already have a video on vitamin C, and I think I'm going to be covering a lot of other vitamins and hormones, and I want to cover some, lots of food haul and stuff, and I'm so confused as to what should I put out. It's like, vomit of information, and I have to like segregate, and I just need to know, acha ab ye bolo, acha don't say this is too overwhelming, this is too new. So yeah, I am overexcited, overhyped, but let's talk about vitamin D. Okay, so when we say vitamin D, what do I mean? Vitamin D is not just vitamin D. There is a catch. When we say vitamin D, I mean your vitamin D3, I mean your vitamin D2, I mean calcitriol, I mean calcidiol. So the group of corticosteroids is the vitamin D, a group of fat soluble vitamin. So we have fat soluble and we have water soluble. Water soluble would be your vitamin B, vitamin C. Vitamin A, D, E, K would be your fat soluble vitamins. When we speak about vitamin D, we know that it is the sunshine hormone. It is precursor for a lot of hormones. It's a sunshine vitamin. Only sun is the only way to get it, and it's all true. But you have to know, it's not about popping supplements. Okay, I'm not saying supplementation is bad. I personally am a big proponent of taking supplements. I provide supplements, I ingest supplements, and I think it is the need of the hour. But supplementation only works on a bed of wholesome meals. Supplementation is not a substitute for the food that you eat. It's not a substitute for the real food. Supplementation is complementary. Okay, so it's like strength training and yoga is complementary to the HIIT workouts that you do. So HIIT is non-negotiable. Food is non-negotiable. Anything that we put in, it's a good supplementation. It's a good complementary activity, and that can really serve us in a lot of good and healthy ways. When we speak about supplementation, I most certainly think a lot of people, irrespective of sunshine and no sunshine, we definitely need vitamin D supplementation. For the most of us, I would say 98 to 99% in my practice that is something that I personally observe a lot. I don't ever see someone who has good amount of vitamin D. Even with me, I supplemented with it for like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, and I still had like 30, 32, which is not sufficient, which is not enough. I want it to be at 60 and 70. And for me, my gut health was compromised, and that is why my body was not absorbing the supplementation I was taking. And along with it, I was exposing my body to sunshine for about 60 minutes, 120 minutes, sunshine, evening, sunset, sunrise, everything. But still, when the absorption is not correct, kuch bhi kar lo, it's not going to work. Okay, so always keep your gut health in mind. When we speak about vitamin D, you have to know that as soon as I expose my body to sun. Now, how do I expose my body? If I'm wearing something that is full sleeve, if I'm wearing something that is very dark in color, if I'm like properly clothed, fully clothed, my body is not really going to expose itself to sunshine and the UVB radiation that is going to activate the manufacturing of the vitamin D, the active form of vitamin D inside the body. So you want to make sure that you take care of these cases. A lot of people have this question, so as to when should I expose myself to sunlight? The first hour as soon as the sun rises, it's usually a very, very safe time to expose yourself. But ideally, it has been shown that 10 or 11 a.m. to 2 or 3 p.m. is ideally a good time, but that can also lead to sunburn and sun tanning, and when you put a lot of sunscreen on, it's not going to work. So we are kind of in a rut, and the ozone layer depletion and everything, so it can take a toll on the skin, and it can damage your DNA as well. 100%, there is a lot of truth in that statement as well. So you just want to very calculatively do it. For me personally, I would personally not take it in between 10 to 3. I would rather supplement and take care of my liver and gut and kidney health. So that is something that I do and practice and preach. When we speak about vitamin D3, so we have, say, vitamin D3, that is your cholecalciferol, which is naturally occurring in the body. We have vitamin D2, that is your ergocalciferol, that is going to be naturally found in your plants. We have calcitriol, we have calcidiol, and when we just look into the absorption and assimilation, it is such a beautiful process. And just don't mind me when I explain you the mechanism, but just to quickly tell you, as soon as I expose my body to the UVB radiation, there is something known as 7D hydroxycholesterol that is present inside side of my skin that is going to be converted into vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is cholecalciferol. The cholecalciferol is going to bind to something known as vitamin D binding protein, and that binding of D3 and vitamin D binding protein is going to give me something known as my calcidiol. Calcidiol, this conversion is going to take place in the liver in the presence of an enzyme known as 25-hydroxylase, and that is why calcidiol is also known as 25-dehydroxy vitamin D. This vitamin D has to be converted into vitamin D3, which is my most active form, that is 1,25-dihydroxy vitamin D, and this conversion is going to take place in my kidney. So my liver health, my kidney health, my gut health, my absorption, my eating, me having the enough amount of enzymes is really important when we speak about vitamin D. As soon as I have all of these things covered up, I also need to know that I have enough amount of calcium, because calcium is also going to help us in the absorption of vitamin D, and vice versa. You need both of it. You need vitamin K2. So with vitamin K2 also, just popping supplements for calcium and vitamin D and MK2 and MK4 and MK7 is something that, you know, it's not sustainable. Like, how long do you think you can take these supplements, and how long do are you going to take this for? The most important thing has to be cholesterol. It's must to have cholesterol. You cannot make pregnenolone, that is the mother of all hormones, if cholesterol is absent. You can't make your DHEA, you can't make aldosterone, you can't make testosterone, you can't make progesterone, you can't make estrogen. You need all of these things. When we speak about immunity, a lot of people talk about vitamin D3, vitamin C and zinc. Why do they talk about these vitamins? Because your immune cells also have the receptors for vitamin D3. A lot of people say that vitamin D is really going to be helpful when it comes to coronavirus and your lungs and everything, because your alveoli can actually work with vitamin D3, and that is how it can fight against infection, and it can increase your immunity against these things. When we look into calcium, I think a lot of people have deficiency of calcium. A lot of people just randomly, mindlessly go vegan, and they definitely go low on calcium. But you want to know that just supplementing with calcium can also be really difficult, and you can actually just go overboard with supplementing with calcium and vitamin K2. Preferably, when we speak about vitamin K2, it is something that is going to direct the calcium from the arteries towards your bones or your teeth, and all of bones and teeth, everything that is going to be needing calcium is going to be directed into the right direction. So for that direction and that path, you need vitamin K2, and just D3 is not enough. When we look into calcium, a lot of people are depleted in calcium and not just vitamin. So a few reasons that you can be depleted in calcium can be you are low on magnesium. We don't eat enough vegetables, we don't eat enough fruits, we don't eat enough leafy greens, so we can be deficient in magnesium. Our diets are not wholesome and balanced, so deficiency in magnesium can be really common for someone who has a long history of liver dysfunction, and someone whose gut health is not correct, someone who is not absorbing the food that they are eating, can also be highly deficient in magnesium, if you calcium. And if you're constantly having a lot of synthetic amounts of calcium, you can go overboard, and that can also create a problem. So you want to make sure that you have optimum levels of calcium, of vitamin D3 and of vitamin K2. When we look into food wise, yes, your eggs, your tuna, your fatty fish, your mackerels, dairy products, milk, cheese, ice cream and all of these things, it can have vitamin D. But when you look into milk, I think about for 80 to 100 or even more years, the products are being fortified and they don't really have it. So in a way, they are also supplementing it. So in a way, you know how they give vitamin B12 to cattle and chicken and all of these stuff, and then they metabolize it and then you eat it, and that's how you get your B12. So just saying that B12 is animal is a good source for B12 is not entirely correct, because even the cattle are being fed with the supplement of vitamin B12, and there is legit different companies and brands that manufacture vitamin B12 not for humans but for animals and cattle. So you always want to look into these things. When it comes to sun, like I said, overexposure and underexposure both can create a lot of problem. So we just want to take enough of vitamin D. But I would say at the end of the day, it comes down to, are you eating a wholesome balanced meal? Are you getting enough sunshine at the right time without the sunscreen, with your skin actually being exposed? So when you look at me, the area that is covered and where I'm wearing clothes is not really going to have that kind of 7-dehydroxycholesterol to calcitriol conversion as much as my shoulders and arms would, because it is directly exposed to the sun. So this is kind of what I mean. So just being fully clothed is something that is not going to work. And like I said, the timing 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. But again, you don't want to burn yourself. And there is something known as, the more far away you live from the equator, the more you're going to be deficient in vitamin D. So I think a lot of countries like Canada and stuff, they must supplement with it, at least people who are living there, because they probably don't see sun for such a long period of time. When it comes to just the benefits of exposing yourself to sun, so let's keep vitamin D aside. And if I just am exposing my body to sun, you have to know my eyes, it's in continuation with the brain. Okay, so there is something known as pineal gland, and pineal gland can release hormones like melatonin that puts you to sleep. There is something known as serotonin, that's your happy hormone, and it can actually do these things in continuation with the way I expose my body to light. So sunlight, moonlight, sunrise, sunset, it has benefits beyond vitamin D. It actually has benefits at every cellular atomic level. It's great for people who have depression. It's great for people whose eyesight is weak. It's great for people who just feel angry and stressed and anxious, and it's so hard for them to get through the day. You want to know, just exposing yourself to vitamin D3, you're exposing yourself to sunshine is really, really going to be helpful. You need vitamin D3 when it comes to depression as well. For someone who has overload of copper, and let's say someone is just popping zinc supplements, and then when you take a lot of zinc, you can deplete yourself in copper. You always have to know, so like I explained, when you are lower in magnesium, you can have deficiency in calcium, and vice versa is also very true. So you want the right balance. You don't want excess of sodium and less of potassium. You don't want excess of chloride and less of sodium. So we want to make sure that these things are very nicely balanced. And how do you balance it? You don't balance it by just mindlessly popping a supplementation. You need it definitely, but get your blood work done, speak with your doctor, speak with your health practitioner before you start supplementing. We usually shuffle between 5,000 IU to 60,000 IU. A lot of people can have may or may not need higher amount of dosage, but it has to be calculated for them. If you are someone who has a lot of knee pain, bone ache, if you're someone who is going through osteoporosis and all of these things, you have to know somewhere or the other you are not actually having enough vitamin D. It can also be magnesium, it can also be potassium, it can also be calcium. And you also have to know, so every time farmers put calcium inside of the soil, they're not just enhancing the amount of calcium, but they're also enhancing the function of a lot of other minerals. So just having enough calcium can also be really, really helpful. And calcium needs to be in the right places. So you don't want it in your arteries, you want it in your bones, you want it in your teeth. So we want to make sure that the vitamins and minerals actually are directed at the correct place. And how do you do it? By creating a nice, good, swift balance in your body, taking care of your liver health, taking care of your gut health, taking care of your kidneys. So always remember, your calcidiol to calcitriol, the conversion is only done in presence of kidneys. So you want to make sure that you are taking care of every organ of the body. You are doing a very holistic, integrative approach instead of just popping a pill. And there is pill for every ill, but does it work at the root cause, or is it just masking the symptoms? You always want to make sure. So you take vitamin D3, your levels go up, that's great, and then it would come down again. So we don't want to be at a place like that. We want to make sure that in the long run, I can get off the supplementation, but my body will still be able to store it. So always remember, when we speak about fat soluble vitamins, your body can store it, unlike vitamin B and vitamin C that your body can release via sweat and urine and excess bile. And you want to make sure that your liver is also going to be able to hold vitamin D. So we don't want to so make a dose upon it that you create vitamin toxicity in your body. And a lot of people say there is no such thing as vitamin D hypertoxicity. A lot of people are against it, but at the end of the day, why do you want to be in a place where you have to experiment when you can just actually prevent it? So just try to be in a very, very healthy and balanced place. Again, it brings me down to balance is the key to good health. And supplements, yes, they work, yes, you can take it. A lot of you are going to ask me about brands. So there is a brand known as J Life Sciences. They have a liquid version. I personally prefer liquid versions over the regular ones, but you can always take the liquid version, and it can directly go into your bloodstream when you take it under the tongue. So just like B12, D3 can be taken in the same way. J Life Sciences is a good brand. You can take a supplementation as well, but please speak with your doctor, and dosage has to be calculated. You can take it every single day, you can take it once in a week, you can take it once at every 2 weeks, depending on what your levels look like. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you have a beautiful day. Take care of yourself.